Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a histogram using Excel's histogram graph tool. And so here in the column A here I have some data, and it's important to put your data in a single column to use this particular tool. And so here I have my data. Okay, before I actually show how to use the tool, remember, a histogram is the visual display of a frequency table. Okay, so to construct a frequency table, you must have a class width, and in order to calculate the class width, you need to find the max and min. Okay, and then histograms usually show the boundaries on the horizontal axis. All right, let's go ahead and find the max. So we type in equals max, highlight, open up equals max, and open parenthesis, and then highlight your data. All right, so we have a maximum of 13. The minimum, similar, we use the min function. Equals min, open up the parenthesis, highlight the data again, and hit enter. All right, so we can see we got a minimum of 1. Once again, class width is defined as maximum minus the minimum divided by the number of classes or bins you're going to use. So in this case, I will use 5, but I'm going to go, it's real important to go equals, open a parenthesis, select the max, I'm referencing the maximum there, and then subtracting the minimum, close the parenthesis, and then divide by how many classes you're going to use. And so here I'm going to use the number 5 classes or bins. Okay, so that's what I like to call the preliminary class width, because most procedures increase this number to the next whole number since we have integer data. All right, so this would be 3 then. All right, now we need to find our class boundaries. These are the numbers often displayed on the horizontal axis. So the procedure that I've shown takes the first lower limit to be the minimum. Okay. But then to find the first lower class boundary, you subtract off 0.5 since it's integer data. So there we go. And then we're going to click on 0.5 and then add our class width of 3. Now, you could reference it, but you have to do what's called an absolute reference. But I'm just going to type in 3 since I'm not doing anything special here. All right. And then I'm going to drag to get all my 6 boundaries. Okay, so the last number here, it should always be at least the maximum. In other words, it can be bigger, but it has to be at least the maximum. All right, so now let's go ahead and highlight our data here. Okay, and then, and the reason I'm highlighting the data is because we're going to use our histogram tool now. So I'm going to go Insert, click on this icon here that looks like it's a statistical, so click on it, and you should see a histogram here. You want the one on the left here, so I'm going to go ahead and click there, and by default you get some kind of histogram. Okay, now that's the default. Now if we're going to make it look like the one we produced in another example, then we need to adjust it. So the way you can do is double click it so that this pops open. I'm going to deselect that and then click once so that this icon appears here, which is the histogram bar. And then I'm going to change the bins here from auto to bin width, because that's what we constructed here, the 3. Change the 2.6 to 3. And then hit enter. You'll notice that you did affect it. You only got 4. Now, once again, this is still not what we've seen before. And so we're going to go to the overflow bin. And then change this number to 12.5. And then this number here, the underflow bin, to 3.5. And you'll notice that's the histogram we generated it in our notes. Okay. By the way, this data is the IRAT customer data set. And so why the 12.5 and 3.5? Well, that's nothing more than our that's nothing more than our second boundary and our second to last boundary there. That's just how Excel works. You can see that Excel numbers the horizontal axis using inequalities or interval notation. So this is what's called an open closed interval. And so how does this work? Well, okay, so this boundary here, it's saying that any data value in this particular bar here belongs to it if it's less than or equal to 3.5. Okay, then this bar here represents any data value that falls between 3.5, not including 3.5, but including 6.5 because of the bracket notation and parenthesis. Okay, parenthesis means don't include, bracket means include. So anything that falls in this interval here, likewise anything that falls in this interval here, and so forth, and anything greater than 12.5 in this bar. All right, so that's how you create a histogram using this particular graph. Alternatively, you could have done it slightly different by select one bar here. Instead of doing bin width, you could have said, okay, I want so many bars. So then you could select, okay, the number of bins or number of classes, and then change that number to your appropriate number you want, and then mess with this so that you so you can adjust it to get what you want there. Okay, hopefully this video was helpful.